This is a pyramid. Many are at the bottom, one stands alone at the top. We're ranking every single DreamWorks movie into increasingly diminishing tiers until we get to the very best one. And you may be saying, but beyond drawings, I've already seen videos ranking every single DreamWorks movie in tiers. That's true. That may be true. But have you seen one that included The Bad Guys 2, which just came out, along with other recent movies like Dogman and The Wild Robot? Huh? I bet not. Yep, that's right. You're stuck. You have to watch the video. All right, sit down, get comfy, because there's a fuck ton of these movies. DreamWorks makes like 2 movies a year because they make so many sequels. There's like 40 of these things. I should mention one thing. Only theatrical releases. So sorry to the 7 Joseph King of Dreams fans out there. Maybe it'll be your day next time. So here we go. Bottom tier. The unmemorable films. And my least favorite DreamWorks film is Spirit Untamed. Congratulations, Shark Tale and Turbo. You are no longer the consensus worst DreamWorks movie. Yeah, this movie wasn't good. A lot of people didn't even know there was a Spirit 2. A lot of people don't even know about its existence. The 3D animated Spirit sequel that they turned into a horse girl movie for 6-year-olds. Now, obviously, this movie wasn't made for me in mind, right? It's for babies. I get that. But even for that standard, it's not good. The 3 main girls have no conflict or dynamic. They just always agree with each other. There's really no reason to even have 3 main characters. The animation doesn't look like a theatrical release. It looks like an extended Disney Channel episode. Spirit, you know, the guy the movie's named after, doesn't even really have a character. I don't know, he likes to be free, he likes to run fast, I guess that's his personality. The first movie was able to give him so much personality even without giving him dialogue, for the most part. We'll get there. If I was a 6-year-old horse girl, I'm sure, maybe I would love this movie. Maybe it would go hard. But I'm a grown-ass man, so it's taking last place spot for me. Next up, we have Turbo.
Listen, Garden Snail, you clearly got the skills to pay the bills. If snails had to pay bills, that is.
Yeah, this movie sucks. Everyone knows it. You're not the worst, but you're the second worst. Moving on. Next up, Boss Baby and Boss Baby 2. I will admit, Boss Baby 1 is slightly better. It is kind of funny. But I'm also just really disturbed by the art style. It's like a preview of what AI art would turn out to look like 5 years later. I will totally admit, I probably would have liked the first Boss Baby if it came out when I was like 6 years old, you know, when I was in elementary school. It came out when I was already a teenager, and by then, the fart jokes and butt humor were just didn't hit as hard. Boss Baby 2, on the other hand, is just a straight up uninteresting movie. So, in Boss Baby 2, because nobody's seen this movie, Tim, he grows up, he has a kid named Tina, and she also is one of those hyper-intelligent babies in suits for the company, just like Boss Baby, who's also now grown up. However, they take a serum that turns them young so they can infiltrate an evil school and stop Dr. Irwin from, taking over the world or something. So it's like a spy stealth infiltration story with babies. But there's never any tension or stakes or actually good action scenes. And when I say stakes, I don't mean somebody's head has to be chopped off. That's not what I mean. What I mean is the action just feels like loud noise. There's never any weight or suspense to the story, to anyone's actions, because the villain is just so unthreatening and ridiculous, and the plot just goes all over the place. You know, kids' movies used to have real villains. They gave weight to the story. None of that is here. So, the movie's just not funny, thrilling, or entertaining in any way, in my opinion. There's not even that many fart jokes. Like, at least if there was more, potty humor, that would have been an attempt. I just feel like they didn't even really try to make it that funny. Next up, Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken. One of the biggest DreamWorks box office busts ever. First off, it was a total marketing failure. Everyone knows this. You see this villain character right here? In the trailer, right? Obviously a villain, right? That was supposed to be a twist. A surprise villain. Which they already revealed in the marketing. DreamWorks gave up on this movie before it even released. That's how mediocre it was. It is just so by the book. It's an animated kids movie. That's what it is. The protagonist is an awkward loser who's trying to fit in at school and has a love interest and a controlling family. Ooh, secret powers they have to learn to deal with. It's just so by the numbers. Next movie, Kung Fu Panda 4. Man, I love the Kung Fu Panda series so much, but it's so obvious they should have stopped after 3. The creative juices are just gone. I already made a video about this, but just to summarize, this is a movie about a character who's already finished his story. At least in relation to being the Dragon Warrior, or in relation to the other side characters. The literal selling point of this villain, the Chameleon, is that she summons previous villains to fight Po. Her superpower is literally retreading previous movies. That is so boring. Or, actually, it could be kind of interesting if they actually did something with it. But she summons Tai Lung and Shen with like 15 minutes left in the movie, and they just fight, and then it's over. The Chameleon has no reason for even, being evil. Just just being evil for the heck of it. She wants to take over the world. Yeah, sure, whatever. Tai Lung wanted revenge on his old master. Shen wanted genocide on the species fated to dethrone him. Kai wanted to collect spirits as a warmonger. The Chameleon, yeah, I don't know. She wants to take over the world. Okay. Next.
You see, on top there's Don Lino. Right. There's me. Mm-hmm. And there's regular fish.
Oh, that's me.
No. There's plankton. Mm. There's single-cell amoebas.
Oh, then there's me.
I'm getting there. There's coral. There's rocks. There's whale poo. And then there's you.
That's messed up.
Okay, Shark Tale isn't terrible. It's kind of funny, I'll admit, if you're laughing at it, I suppose. As a kid, that part where the seahorse punches himself in the face was really, really funny. I really remember liking that joke. They made a gold digger fish, which is really, really funny in retrospect. People call this movie ugly, and they're right. But it's uniquely ugly. Artistically, it stands out. It looks like a dirty fish tank, which I suppose is an aesthetic in itself. The griminess and dull colors are very Shark Tale-esque, if you will. But it just doesn't have funny or original characters. It's a liar-revealed plot, Oscar, the main character, he lies, and everyone believes him, and then it's like, oh no, I'm not actually, whatever. So it's gonna be blah from a story perspective. Overall, it just needed a little more of a funny or likable main character. It could have been better, honestly. And in the same tier, we have Home. Enough said. Also in this tier, Trolls 2. It is pretty. It's a very pretty movie. It's very stylized. It looks like Yoshi's Woolly World. Kind of that way. But it's the least interesting Trolls movie in the trilogy. So the problem is, it's one of these stories where the main character is faced with some bad guys, and they want to solve it non-violently. The antagonists are violent, and they want to stop it non-violently. Guys, there's gotta be a way we can be friends. That's okay. That can work as a story. The problem is, Poppy, the protagonist, is really annoying in this movie. She's very preachy. Branch keeps trying to help her out, and she keeps being a dickhead to him. She doesn't really do much, actually, if you really think about it. She doesn't do a whole lot to actually stop the rock trolls until the very, very end of the movie when she does something. Up until then, the whole story is just them running around trying to find them. It's so bad that in the third Trolls movie, in the next movie, they made Branch the new main character. They said, all right, no more main characters roles for you, Poppy. You're being relegated to love interest. It also does this thing, which is a recurring problem in a lot of kids' movies, where they don't actually show the bad guys doing bad things. They kind of just show the aftermath of it, or they tell you that it happens. We don't see them destroy villages and hurt people, because I don't know, I guess that would be too harsh for a kids movie. So we just see the aftermath of it. And that kind of takes away from the intimidation, in my opinion. Oh well, it's Trolls 2, whatever. Next movie, and I get some disagreement on this one, Dogman. I don't find it funny. I find it energetic, but I don't find the jokes actually making me laugh. I don't think it correctly interprets the style of the humor of the comics, like the Captain Underpants movie is able to correctly interpret it. I think the comics were very silly, yes, but they relied on reaction timing and facial expressions that could be sarcastic or disbelieving or use dry humor. There's no dry humor in this movie. This movie doesn't really do that. It's very dialogue based, but the dialogue is just chaotic and all over the place. It's instead of trying to be Tom and Jerry, it's trying to be the Looney Tunes, but it doesn't have the writers to be the Looney Tunes. There's a good joke every once in a while, but I also can't help but feel like they could be funnier if worded or paced different. Another bottom tier movie, Shrek 3. Now this movie has the best highlights of any bottom tier movie. because it's the Shrek universe. Every once in a while, the writers locked in and made a really good joke. The best being the Pinocchio joke. But man, Shrek is just such an asshole in this movie. He's completely undone all his character development from the first 2 movies. And he's just not someone you want to root for. He doesn't want kids. He doesn't want to be king. He doesn't want to help his wife out. His motivation is just, I don't want to sit around all day in a swamp. That's just not enticing. That's not fun. That doesn't grab me. But I mean, that's the consequence of making a million sequels in a franchise. You're gonna make a dud eventually. The writers and directors changing hands so many times, you're not gonna strike gold every time when you're just churning out too many sequels. And the final, and I suppose, best movie in this tier, The Croods. I kind of struggled on where to put this movie because I don't dislike it. I could have put it in the next tier. It's very silly and has a bunch of jokes about inventing technology and being cavemen that are pretty unique to this movie. The action is dynamic enough. It's well made. Grug is occasionally funny, but incredibly basic and predictable. He's the overprotective father who doesn't like the guy his daughter likes, and he gets mad easily. I think that's the problem with this movie. The cast of characters is just so basic. Guy is smart. Granny is crazy. Ugga is nice. Thunk is awkward. Sandy is out of control. Belt literally just has a running joke. He is a running joke that he repeats over and over. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, I get it. I kind of like the running joke that Grug wants his mom to die. That is kind of funny. But other than that, it's just okay to me, to be honest. It's just an okay movie. All right, the next tier. So 7th tier was uninteresting or deeply flawed movies. The 6th tier is movies that are, at their core, entertaining and worth watching, but either with key flaws or not enough development in their story or humor. The okay tier, basically. Starting with Abominable. This movie was great. I'm going to say for the first 15-20 minutes. A monster escapes captivity. He hides in a girl's rooftop. She finds him, decides to protect him, and goes on a journey to find his homeland. Awesome. Great idea. That's a cool movie. I even like the animation style, even though it's a little different. The problem is this movie just kind of unravels as the plot continues and becomes totally ridiculous. So the Abominable Snowman has superpowers, okay? That's cool, I guess. What's his powers? Well, he starts singing, he starts humming, and when he's surrounded by blueberry bushes, the blueberries around him start growing in massive size. Okay, so his power is he can make things grow, or he can make food grow, he can make life grow. That's a neat power. And then after that, in the next 30 minutes, he sends shockwaves through the water to accelerate a boat. He shoots icicles. He shoots ice. He turns clouds into solid platforms so he can walk on them. He has super strength. He can jump high. He can control the weather. I have no idea how this magic system works. This Abominable Snowman can literally do anything. And that's not how you make a good magic system. If the Abominable Snowman can just do anything, there's no stakes. There's no tension. He can just snap his fingers and solve whatever problem is in front of him. So yeah, this movie is poorly written. It just drops the ball because it doesn't know how to limit its fantasy world. The story itself is okay, but it just loses its stakes and its engagement halfway through. Next movie, Croods 2, Caveman Racism. I never considered it for a movie concept, and I don't know why I didn't. Good movie. Better than Croods 1. I will say, it was funnier. Next is a movie that still looks just gorgeous when it's at its peaks, but it's just too generic plot and character-wise, and that's The First Trolls. Man, you got Justin Timberlake as your subhead, and you only give him one song, and it's auto-tuned at that? What are we doing, man? That's JT. That's one of the most iconic singers of the late 90s and 2000s decade. Yeah, The First Trolls movie is just okay. When it uses the furry textures and felty weird backgrounds and storybook type backgrounds, it's great. When it's Poppy and Branch bantering and the Bergens being stupid and not nearly as threatening as they could be for creatures that eat the trolls, it's not so good. So we kind of meet in the middle. I actually forgot this next one was a DreamWorks movie. I thought it was Sony or Illumination until I checked. Mr. Peabody and Sherman. This is such a random interpretation of an old cartoon about a super smart dog and boy who make dumb puns and go on techno adventures. And it was enjoyable. It's a fun movie. Very shallow, very surface level characters, okay voice acting, okay action scenes, okay animation in general, and a couple good jokes. like the Spartacus reference. I like the Spartacus reference. And yeah, that's about it. It's not much to say. It's okay. In the same tier, Flushed Away. One of the better main character duos in this tier between Roddy and Rita. Their personalities aren't particularly original. Roddy is a posh city boy who wants to get home, and Rita is a rough and tough gal who's trying to help her family. But their dialogue is well written, and their faces are well animated. It's a good dynamic they have. It's a good 1-2 punch. The villain has a good design, a good voice. Overall, a memorable set of characters. But he's just not that pretty to look at, nor suspenseful story-wise. It's okay. In terms of the actual adventure, I think the settings are neat in their underground vibes, but in terms of color palette or actually being visually interesting, they're just okay. So it's an alright movie to me. This film, on the other hand, gives me a much more dramatic reaction. Sinbad, Legend of the Seven Seas. What a fascinating movie. What an interesting piece of animated history. The very last 2D animated DreamWorks movie, a box office flop, but not a bad movie. An interpretation of the tales of Sinbad, plundering ships and facing against Eryth, the Greek goddess of discord. I mean, her Roman name is literally Discordia. Typically depicted with wings and stars on her dress, they use some absolutely beautiful animation on her figure. She is gorgeous, and many aspects of the film are quite visually appealing. I love that part where, in order to clone Sinbad, she makes like a wooden puppet of Sinbad, and then she enters it. That is so cool. I love that. But other aspects look like a GameCube game. You can definitely tell this was one of those troubled development movies because it's too short, its climax is half-baked, and certain scenes in the middle feel nonsensical and poorly written. But it is fun. I'll give you that. I'll call it the most fascinating movie in this tier. That one makes me ponder about it the most. This next one is more just a guilty pleasure, though. Penguins of Madagascar.
The North Wind is an elite undercover. The North Wind is an elite dedicated to helping animals who can't help themselves.
Yeah, it's good. I like this movie. I watched the Penguins of Madagascar show a ton when I was a kid. I remember just like dancing and singing to the theme song with my mom. That was one of my favorite shows when I was growing up. So I attached myself to these characters a lot. But that's all I got to say. It's okay. It's fun. Next, one of the more mediocre films here, Puss in Boots. Wait, not that one. Yeah, that one. Another instance of a character being so loved that DreamWorks was like, yeah, fine, let's give them their own movie. They did this with Penguins, obviously. Except, yet again, when tasked with carrying a story on their own, without interesting side characters to really help play off of them, you get an adventure movie that has some pretty good action scenes and not really much else. I actually think it's one of the least funny DreamWorks movies, in my opinion. Up next is a movie a lot of people would have higher, but I'm just not as big of a fan of, Over the Hedge. If it wasn't already apparent, I don't really like the liar revealed plotline, and this is just exactly that. Like, exactly to the bone. It doesn't really subvert my expectations from it at all. No part of this movie is like, whoa, I didn't expect that. No, it's just exactly what I expected it to be honest. Now, there are parts I like. I like the part where the turtle guy chews on the bark because people use that scene to describe eating dark chocolate or well-cooked steak.
Granted, it takes some time to chew, but
this main character is just so boring to me. His design is blah. His color scheme is whatever. He's not particularly kind, charming, funny, or expressive. He's just a guy. And that prevents me from really liking more of the jokes in this movie. Next, the second Shrek movie on this list, Shrek Forever After. Now, what this movie does is it expands on the Shrek not wanting babies plot so much better than Shrek 3. Because yeah, having 3 kids and being a father, it's exhausting. It takes away the things you used to love. But Shrek 3 kind of just had him mope and complain about it in a not very sincere or likable way. Here, it's so much more understandable. So, Shrek does a deal with Rumpelstiltskin being tricked into signing away his life and having to reunite with Fiona to go back to the life he had. It's a fun story. It's expressive. Mike Myers does a good job as Shrek once again. The magic is creative. Rumpelstiltskin is a very fun and memorable villain. I love that part where his toenails go out of his... Yeah, that scene. I love that scene. But it's probably the least funny Shrek movie. Like, all the creativity and the jokes from Shrek 1 and 2 are kind of gone. And even Shrek 3 had some really stupid lines that I really love. It doesn't really try to be funny, as opposed to being a narrative driven by romance and action. Which is fine. It's just not the series' strong points. It's not Shrek's strong points. But it's still good for what it is. And the final movie in the OK tier, Monsters vs. Aliens. This movie is like Family Guy, in that it is so much better in little clips that you see online than the whole movie. This movie easily has the best highlights of any film we've seen so far. We've listed so far. This president is hilarious. Bob is so well animated and voiced that I see him all over Twitter reaction GIFs. The action is fun and zany, and there's just so many fun, silly moments. But when you sit down and actually watch the whole thing start to finish, it's not really as interesting. I kind of find myself just waiting for the good jokes as opposed to enjoying the entire experience. It's probably my favorite movie in this tier, but it's still an okay movie on the same tier as the others. Okay, damn, done with those. DreamWorks has a lot of okay movies, so that was a big tier, but here they get better. Tier 5, good movies start to finish. They have memorable designs, good writing, consistently entertaining, and I would recommend seeing them, but I wouldn't rewatch them or put them in top 10 conversations. First, Rise of the Guardians. This movie has some of the biggest scale of any DreamWorks movie. It has weight to it. The designs are very detailed. The lighting is less bright, has edge to it. Now, it's still silly at the end of the day. You know, the main characters are Santa, Jack Frost, the Easter Bunny, Tooth Fairy, and Sandman. I was invested in their desire to be believed in, though, to maintain whimsy in children's lives and fight an evil force taking over. Unfortunately, it really just hasn't aged that well visually. The humans kind of look like they're almost from Ice Age, except Ice Age came out 10 years before that movie. I feel like this was when DreamWorks was taking risks budget-wise and visually. This is around the same time when they made How to Train Your Dragon, which was also one of their highest budget films. And I just feel like this one didn't quite age as well as How to Train Your Dragon. But I appreciate the effort. You know, for some reason, DreamWorks just can't quite nail the third movie in their series. So I'm going to combine my thoughts on Kung Fu Panda 3 and How to Train Your Dragon 3. Because they're similar criticisms. So you got two franchises here, one more comedic, one more adventurous, that are high budget, highly successful staples, and their second movies did well, so what the heck, you might as well make a third movie. Their protagonists are older now, more experienced, and a lot of their arcs are complete. But here they have one last enemy, one last villain to fight to establish peace in the world. But they both lose their core character dynamic strengths because these conflicts have been resolved before. Po is funniest in Kung Fu Panda 1 and 2 because his silly nature bounces off the Furious Five and Master Shifu. His wholesome but clumsy nature contrasts them and thus opens up the way for jokes. In the third movie, those characters aren't really present, aside from some Po Tigress moments that I really like, but they're very sparse. What I'm trying to say is Po's dad doesn't really contrast him nearly as well as the other side characters. The Panda village is just panda fat jokes, you know? The jokes are so much more shallow and overdone. Kai is a fun villain. I love his voice from J.K. Simmons, his design, his music especially. He doesn't quite get enough screen time, though. Similar problems in How to Train Your Dragon. Toothless finds another member of his species, a woman dragon, and wants to, romance her. That connection, unfortunately, is just very hard to make interesting because neither of them talk. And in the end, that core romance isn't that engaging in my opinion. The new villain is okay, I guess, but at this point, I'm getting tired of just random bad Vikings wanting to kill dragons for the heck of it. He just kind of feels like a reskin of the other ones. It's not an interesting archetype. So while both of these movies are very well produced, have interesting characters, and have decent stories, their most engaging comedic dynamics, and these new villains, it's just, it's another guy. The villains aren't that good enough, in my opinion, to really drive new stories. What I'm trying to say is the creative juices of these stories were kind of used up in the first two movies. They can't add enough original material to make these movies better than their predecessors, and thus, they're in this tier. Next up, the newest movie on this list, The Bad Guys 2. See, say what you will about Fox News, but they absolutely have one thing correct. The media is trying to turn your kids into furries. You cannot convince me there's not a closeted furry in DreamWorks. I see what's going on. I know what you are. Oh, yeah, and the movie was good. I liked it. Yeah, whatever. The next movie,
Yellow tape around his.
This next movie, a lot of people don't really like as much, but I have a soft spot for. Ants. This movie's weird. The designs are really distorted and kind of funky. They move in weird ways. It's an ugly movie, let's be real. But I just love its weird-ass, twisted sense of humor. It's dark, it's dry, and even though the main character is kind of whatever and his romance with the princess is kind of blah, man, it's just a funny movie. This whole concept of him being the last ant standing after a literal massacre, that's hilarious. Dude, there's like dead bodies in this movie. I know they're insects, but dude, this movie's crazy. There's dark humor all over. Point made. Whack movie. I like wacky things. In the same tier, Trolls 3. Now, unlike the other third sequels we talked about, I think Trolls 3 is the best in its trilogy. This feels sexist to say, but once they relegated Poppy to being a love interest and having Justin Timberlake, Branch, take the lead, oh my god, and him actually singing more songs, the story gets much better. The world is expanded in a much more imaginative way than Trolls 2. Instead of the different species just being like trolls but with a different color and a different music style, there's actually different creatures, like different species. The locations and different and fuzzy, felty monsters are really creative, and they're different sizes and they're different colors and they're different power differences, color complexions, textures. The movie has fun with its world. The villains Velvet and Veneer are pretty funny and really good at driving the story. So yeah, surprisingly good follow-up to the first two Trolls movies, which I didn't even like that much. I was pleasantly surprised that the third movie was good. Almost done here. We got Captain Underpants movie. Last movie in this tier, Spirit, Stallion of the Cimarron. And before Spirit fans say, oh, it should be higher, it's so much better, it's well animated, the action is good, the characters are great. That's all true. That's all true. That being said, you know exactly why this movie is being held back. That fucking stupid narration. Oh my god, it is incredible how much 2 minutes of screen time can ruin a movie. For anyone that doesn't know, Spirit, the main character of this movie, a horse, doesn't talk in this movie. He has no dialogue. And surprisingly, his character is very well portrayed through facial expressions, interactions with human characters, action scenes, just the way he's animated, good directing and lighting. But every once in a while, they give him narration that's like a POV of his inner thoughts. And it's so bad because he says the most obvious things. It contributes nothing, and it's a giant distraction. For example, Spirit will be fighting against a human, struggling against him, and his stupid narrator will say, I don't really like this guy, and he makes me angry, and I don't like him, and I want to fight him. Like, yeah, I got it. And the music isn't any better. There's a scene where Spirit gets captured, right? He gets captured. The rain is falling. He's struggling. It's a bad situation. And the song is like, this is bad situation. I have to keep moving. I can't give up. The rain is falling. It's like it instantly takes all the wind out of the movie's sails because it just doesn't have that self-awareness. It becomes so corny and silly instantly. And yeah, it's not good when it's like that. But otherwise, it's a good movie. But it's annoying sometimes. Okay, now we're getting into the really good movies. Any of these movies could be in the top 10 DreamWorks discussions. They're all either very funny or very engaging. So it was very good movie. How to Train Your Dragon 2. I know, I get it. You could call the story clunky. You can say, oh, it's weird how the biggest action scene is like 40 minutes from the movie's ending. I don't care. This movie's gorgeous. The action is awesome. The Hiccup Astrid connection is legitimately well written and expands upon the relationship from the first movie. I like the soundtrack, although it's not as strong as the first movie. It's still good. It's a great action adventure through and through. Next, I'm going to put all three Madagascar movies in this tier. I probably like the second one the most, followed by the third one, and then the first one. I don't have much to say other than they're fucking hilarious. They're so quotable. Hey, mammal, can you read? No, but Phil can read. Phil? Maternity leave. But you're all males. Well, I suppose we wouldn't want these flying around, would we? Why are you biting my butt? Voila. Where are the people. We killed them and ate all their livers. Gotcha, didn't I? just 3 really funny movies. Oh, they're so good. I love these movies. Next, the freakiest movie on this list, The Road to El Dorado. Oh my goodness, DreamWorks. There are children watching. Oh yeah, and the story's good, and the characters are good, and animation's good. Yeah, whatever. Okay, next is one of the most beloved movies on this list, so this might be a little low, but I do love the movie very much. Megamind. What an off-the-wall, sarcastic, subversive movie that's just really consistently funny, and how charming the characters are. This is one of the most beloved movies by the entire internet, and it's well-deserved. Metro Man lets a new supervillain run free because he's bored of being the good guy. Megamind then has to step up and stop the horrible creation. He wanted to be a villain, now he's the hero. Hal Stewart is a hilarious character as a nice guy that's just kind of an awkward asshole turning into a villain. Everything about the story is so fresh, self-aware, and fun to poke at. I think the only reason I don't have it higher is because the focus on Megamind's drama kind of takes away from any actual action scenes. Despite being a quote superhero movie, there's really not that much fighting in this movie, and that would be fine if the romance wasn't kind of all over the place. I think for that reason, the middle chunk of the movie suffers for not having a driving narrative. But other than that, it's really good, as everyone already knows. And the final movie in this tier, the internet's favorite movie, Shrek. It's good. Everyone knows it's good. Not much to say. On to the next tier. Tier 3, great movies, and where my personal top 10 ranking starts. This tier is my 10th to my 5th favorite DreamWorks movie. At number 10 and 9, we have Chicken Run and Wallace and Gromit: Curse of the Were-Rabbit. These movies have and will age better than any movie on this video. They are timeless. The look of Aardman animations is so iconic and so well detailed, expressive, tangible, well-paced, well-produced. Everything is made with love and care. The reason Wallace and Gromit is a spot higher is because they're such a charming duo. Gromit's expressions and sarcastic tone, despite having no dialogue to Wallace, is always funny, every single time. It's technically not my favorite Wallace and Gromit movie. That would be Wallace and Gromit, The Wrong Trousers. But this one has an awesome giant were-rabbit model as its monster antagonist, who, spoilers, turns out to be Wallace himself. Plot-wise, that's such a fun little twist. That puts a wedge in all the storylines. So now, it interrupts his romance with Lady Toddington. It makes Victor literally want to kill Wallace. Puts Wallace and Gromit against each other. There's a ton of comedic material from this type of story. So while Chicken Run also has a great main character, setting, story, and jokes, Wallace and Gromit is just a little more creative, but they're both great movies. Next, number 8, The Bad Guys. Genuinely, one of the most dynamic looking DreamWorks movies ever. The action and chase scenes in this movie are so well paced, so fun, so flashy. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of action in this movie. Wolf and Diane are so well voiced and well animated. I know I joked about a secret furry in DreamWorks because some funny things happen, but they legit have such a fluid dynamic together. They go so well together. They are so fun to watch. Wolf's cockiness is completely nullified by Diane's confidence, but her caring attitude seeps into Wolf's insecurity in a way that opens up his character to development. They are an awesome couple, and their side characters are good too, but it's really these two that make the plot as interesting as it is. Will Wolf betray Diane's trust and be evil, or will he betray his friends and be good? There's a really good character toil there. It's a clever dynamic, pitting the two moralities inside Wolf against each other. So go see it in its sequel if you haven't. Number 7, How to Train Your Dragon. Oh, this movie's so nostalgic for me, man. My generation grew up with these movies. There is so much care put into Hiccup's character. There are so many lazy archetypes like him, to the point where any wrong move in Hiccup's character writing can make him feel forced and cliche. You know, he's the dweeb loser whose father wants XYZ, but he doesn't want that. He's geeky, he makes inventions. I've seen this a million times. Except, Hiccup has well-written dialogue. Hiccup doesn't clash with characters just for the sake of it. He clashes with them when he ideologically disagrees and opens up to them when they find common ground. Him and Astrid legit have a good connection. And man, the flying scenes have aged so well. Even 15 years later, this movie looks so good and sounds so good. The color palette is admittedly ugly sometimes, but I don't think that distracts from the vibe. I actually think that adds to the environment that the film embraces. Burke is cold and unwelcoming. Hiccup isn't particularly strong or good looking. Rather, his connection with Toothless and the other Vikings is where his character lies. Great movie, but everyone knows that already. Number 6, the best Shrek movie, Shrek 2. There are so many tiny little jokes in this movie that only this universe could ever come up with. One of my favorites is when someone goes to a tavern and the tavern guard opens the little peephole, sticks an eye out to look out, and when he opens the door, it turns out that was his only eye because he's a Cyclops. That is such a random little joke that's so unexpected, and only this movie could have ever come up with it. And there's like a billion of those. I also like the one where in the chase sequence near the end, when everyone's hiding in a Starbucks and then the Starbucks gets destroyed and then they run across the street to another Starbucks. That's a good one too. I really don't have much to say. It's just so witty and fun. This movie's having fun. It knows it's funny and has a good time with it. Shrek 2 is great. All right, number 5, The Prince of Egypt. What a pretty movie. And I don't just mean visually, I mean vibe-wise. It's just beautiful. What it wants to portray is beautiful. It's music, it's movement, it's color scheme, the voice acting. Okay, so it's great. So why don't I have it, I don't know, number 1 like some people do? There are times when the movie's a little silly, and then there's plenty of silly movies here, sure, but in this one, it feels a tad out of place to me. I don't think the henchmen are that funny. I really don't think this movie's funny at all, actually, in any part when it attempts comedy. But the whole second half is just great. I do kind of wish it stuck a little more to the source material. You know, not like super strictly, but there are a lot of liberties taken. And I think if this movie just took itself a tad more seriously, I would like it more. But it is so good in that second half. I would agree it's a masterpiece. But it was meant to be appealing to kids. So I'm not mad at the end of the day. Okay, second tier, Mount Rushmore films, the top 4 films. I could argue any of these next 3 are the best DreamWorks movie, although the first tier, my favorite one, is my single favorite. Number 4, The Wild Robot. I'm pretty confident this is the single best looking DreamWorks movie. And the fact it was made on a $78 million budget really impresses me. Okay, well, $78 million is obviously a lot of money, don't get me wrong. But it's like less than half of what a 3D animated Pixar movie would be made nowadays, or a 3D animated Disney movie. Roz is such a developed interpretation of a robot that slowly develops emotions and as it interacts with the world. Bit by bit, we see the robotic barriers come down and she becomes attached to Brightbill, Fink, and all the animals. Her character is so carefully crafted through dialogue. I do actually think Fink, though, is my favorite character, though. Pedro Pascal does an awesome job as this conniving fox that slowly attaches themselves to Roz and Brightbill. Their dialogue is so smooth and just so interesting to listen to. There's no dull scenes in this movie because every character has something interesting to say. There's so much love and care in crafting their interactions, making a robot, a fox, and animals feel extremely human. All the little twitches, the fur textures, and jitters in their movement make for such visually interesting scenes, even if they're just sitting down and talking. And then by the end of the movie, there's some pretty good action too. It really just has everything. A very enchanting movie, super well made. Number 3, Kung Fu Panda. Take everything I just said about the little moments, the dialogue, the little body expressions, and make it comedic as well as emotional. Kung Fu Panda doesn't have any dull scenes. Every single one is either funny or really heartfelt because these characters clash unbelievably well. Tigress and Shifu are strict and stern, ashamed by Poe's mere presence. Monkey, Viper, and Mantis are a little more chill and intrigued by him. Crane is more reserved and uncomfortable by his presence. His dad is loving but overprotective. They all poke at Poe, the protagonist, in different ways that force him to change. They make him feel ashamed and defeated after their constant beatings, but quickly inspire him to be a better person. What I'm trying to say is, the top 8 characters in this movie are so interesting. It's such a good lineup. I know Jack Black is like a meme for this performance. He's the short, funny, fat guy who does silly comedies, But this is genuinely such an impressive voice acting performance from him. I'd argue it's the single best voiced character of anyone on this list. Poe is fucking hilarious. Every line is gold. Every line is either a brick wall that Tigris and Shifu run into, or an insecurity that Oogway undresses, or a joke that Monkey and Crane and Mantis jump off of, and it's all funny. Not to even mention the fights are legit, very technically crafted and well animated, and I would argue ahead of their time for 2008. The score by Zimmer, I mean, everyone knows it's great. Everything is incredible. But it's not quite as good as number 2, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Nothing I can say about this movie hasn't already been said, so I'm just gonna play my favorite clip.
Your wish is horrible. You're horrible. You're an irredeemable monster.
What took you so long, idiot?
Yeah, everything about this movie is awesome. Dialogue, music, color palette, voice acting, settings, villains, side characters, everything. It's awesome. But it's not my favorite movie. Here we are, baby. Were you paying attention? Through process of elimination, can you figure out my favorite movie, the one that's left? That's right. My favorite DreamWorks movie is Kung Fu Panda 2. Everything I said about the first movie is present, but it is so much more powerful because its villain is even better than Tai Lung, who's already really good. The connection between Poe and Tigris is expanded, and the lighting and color palette making for even more emotional storytelling. It is so funny in the first half, and yet so genuinely gripping in the second half. Poe is the only panda in the Valley of Peace, and he is constantly mocked for it every day. Haha, he's the fat, funny panda. But where are the others? They've been driven away, massacred, an ethnic cleansing of his people. What a fucking crazy storyline for this villain. I will never understand people saying Tai Lung is the best Kung Fu Panda villain. No way. Shen is 1,000 times more evil. He's better voiced. Gary Oldman, shout out, does a phenomenal job. And he's charming. He's the best DreamWorks villain with a bullet. Better than Death, Eris, the Fairy Godmother, Titan, Farquaad, all of them. Because he has everything. Even though everything else about this movie is great, Shen steals the show every single time he's on screen. Poe comes to reckon with the idea that he might be the last of his people, and that there is no hope left for his species. But in that low moment, when facing the destruction of his people, he realizes there's nothing left to hold on to, and thus he finds inner peace in what he does have. Himself, his friends, his family. He may not have his biological father, but he has an adopted one, and that's just as powerful. See, it might be a simple message, to not let hate consume you, but rather put the past behind you and look at what you do have and do what's right. But it's a message that's portrayed so well and so thoroughly. Poe should hate the world. The world has taken everything from him. The world mocks him constantly. He's constantly treated him like an outsider. And yet he uses that to his advantage. He uses his uniqueness. He doesn't let that negativity stop him. Even after destroying Shen's fleet, he doesn't want to kill Shen. He doesn't want to act on hatred. He wants to create positive change. Shen is ruled by hatred, Poe by kindness, and that is why he's such a fun character and why this movie is my favorite. And when you think about it, it's quite a dark story, and DreamWorks is able to get away with it because it's the funny panda movie. But this movie has genocide. This movie has a villain that wants to kill him. He says it out loud. But when you peel back that surface layer, this is a really trauma-ridden story. And I'm just really glad DreamWorks didn't hold back, giving us, in my opinion, the best movie they've ever made. And yeah, that's The Pyramid. Take a good look at it. I think I did a pretty good job, honestly. But what would you change? Let me know in the comments. And that's all I got for today. Like and subscribe. Follow me on Letterboxd, Movie Guy Mark. And bye.